I see
This
some background
conference
noise.
will now be recorded.
Right. So we have been talking about discussing about what is the effects and what is this programming language can do. That is it has several features like inbuilt functionality with the database connectivity and all those things. And then we discussed about the data types. How do we declare the data types? What are the different data types that is available? There are specific data types that we'll be using more frequently, like like ID and S objects kind of thing, which are which are specific to the Salesforce than any other object-oriented programming languages. And so we also saw a lot of examples about how to create the Apex class, how to execute the Apex class, and how to create an object from the class, and how we can execute that from there. How to create an object and execute from there, and in the testing window and all those things. All right. The next thing we did talk about the DML operations. So what is the data manipulation language, and what are the operations that we can do with the objects that we create, various objects that we create. Like it could be like insert, update, and upsert, and we still need to talk about the merge and delete and delete. We'll talk about this. So with that, so this is the recap of whatever we discussed in the previous class. Hope you guys are good with that, and hope you got a chance to do some hands-on, so that at least watch my videos. At least you can get through what are the things that we learned so far. All right. So when we're talking about the DML operations, one of the key things that I would like to tell you is in the programming world, we always need to take care of certain things certain way of coding. But if you see, there is a concept called the exceptions. Hope you might have been aware of the other programming languages. It's called the exceptions. So I would like to go through what are the exceptions, when this will be used, and what is the purpose of the exceptions quickly. And then moving forward, we'll be using these exceptions in our code. So what are the exceptions? Okay. So whenever we do any of the database operations, it's always used to have there could be any errors, any errors could happen, or unexpected errors, or it could be the expected or unexpected errors, or system errors, or those kind of things will happen when we interact, or when we do the manipulation within the database. So this happens when we manipulate the data with the database. So for example, in such scenarios, how are we going to handle that? We cannot just skip the errors and keep going, right? We still need to handle that. So that is why in Salesforce, especially, we used to have several exceptions. In Salesforce, whenever we are dealing with the DML, there is something called the DML exceptions. So whenever we execute any kind of the insert or update, or delete or undelete, or upsert, or whatever the DML statement, we always, it is recommended. And so far we haven't gone through this DML exceptions, and it was all good. I still remember when I was showing you how to create the data record, I missed the first name or I missed the last name, so I just gave only the first name, so it was popping up an error. It was throwing an error. Instead of that, if that error comes, what will be the situation? How can we handle that situation? How can we handle that error? How do we catch it? Those errors are coming, right? It could be it could be the program error, or it could be a system error, or it could be the database failure, or it could be anything. It's not success. It's going to be in the failure state. During that state, how do we handle the situation? Either we can notify, or we can log it. We can put it in the log, so that whenever we, as a developer, go through the logs, we know that what is the things that happen. One of the things in the real-time example is the real-time projects or real-time work is we always, whenever there's an error, or whenever there's a problem, we always tail the logs and see, okay, this is the thing that happened, and these are the steps that executed the code, and these are the things that happened in the log, and what is showing in the log. Whenever in my team, when they come and tell me, hey, this is the problem that I have, first question I would ask is what does the log say? What does the log say? So the log is the Bible for every developer. to go through or to debug or to fix any of the issues that we have. So with that said, so like exceptions, how do we handle the exceptions in the there are like certain code format or snippet that needs to be handled. How do we handle that exceptions, or what is the skeleton of the exceptions? Like we always use that. They're similar to the Java thing. Like what do we use? Like we always use the try catch block. So whatever we need to handle, we are going to do it in the try, and then we'll be having a catch block. So this is where whenever the exception happens, the system enforces the code to flow into the catch block. Like for as I said, it's going to be the DML exception, right? The DML exception. This is just again a class. And then we can create an object. Like it could be anything, like error, or like I would say like just E, which is fine. And this is the catch block. So here we can write. So here we're going to write our code block to execute the features that we want. In case if this fails for some reason, the code will flow here. Code will flow here for the errors, and this is errors, and this is where we handle the exceptions or catch the exceptions. We can say anything. Catch the exceptions. Right. So this is, since this is the error object. So this is the error object. We could even we could even get the message, or we could even get the message, or we could get the data from the or info from the exception object. Okay, let's just write a piece of code to see how does this works. Okay, like let's go to our okay, this is the code that we wrote another day. Just fine. I'm going to delete it right away. Okay, and then like say for example, let me try it with the try. So this is the try block, and we are going to write the catch block. This is how it's going to be the catch block. And what are we going to do? We are going to handle the DMLs, so which is called the DML exceptions. There are like several exceptions. Since we are dealing with the DML, we need to have the DML exceptions. DML exceptions. Okay. So here, I'm just going to say if it comes here, system.debug, as an example, I'm saying code is here in the catch block. Then we're just going to print it and see what is all the error about. Exception message from the object, from the exception object, or from the object, I'll say. We concatenate here and then see E dot. One of the most common thing is like get message, an example. Get message. We are calling it. We are calling that method from this object. E dot get message. You can see that here. Okay. All right. So this is what the catch block is. All right. Now, if you just write this piece of code, whatever we wrote on the other day, like training, right? Yeah, this is what we wrote. So if you here we did not use any of this try block at all. So we have been still doing the DML operation, but there are certain language like Java that will not let you to allow to execute the code without writing the exception. It will say that you need this piece of code must be in the try block or the catch block. Even in Java, we do have something called finally. It doesn't really matter. whether the code flows to the catch or try, it will always come to the finally kind of thing. But we are not going to get there. Here, if you see here, the try block or the code will execute either in the try block or it will come to the catch block. Okay, so try to execute the try block. If it fails, it will come to the catch block. Okay, like let's see, like we can create one account object. Like for example, account is Sfdc1 or equal to new account. We are dealing with this account, right? So we always give the name equal to blah blah blah, comma, like number of employees, blah blah blah, kind of equal to, comma. So these are the field values we will be giving, and that will be inserted. Right now, what I'm trying to do here is let's create an empty object, empty record. So even without anything, but it's not going to create it, right? I mean, it's not possible to create with no data at all in the Salesforce. At least you have to give the name. So there are a lot of mandatory fields which must be entered in order to create a record of an object account. But we are just going to give it a try. We already learned about how to insert the record, insert ACCT1, an example. It could be just account or ACC, whatever. This just the object name could be anything, right? Right. Now, if it comes to this catch block, if it is success, it will not come here. The code will not come here. It will get success. The code will not come here. If it is a failure, it will come here. Okay. The code will come into the catch block, and then it will print this. Okay. Let's try to execute this and see what happens. Trying to execute. I can go to this debug. You see here, the code is here in the catch block, and the exception is a message from the object, insert failed. Okay, so what is the reason? First exception on row 01. Okay, the first error is required fields missing. Required fields are missing. So you must have at least the name. The required fields are missing the name, right? So we go back okay, what is that? Okay, we go back and say that at least I put name equal to training 1 and just putting randomly and try to execute this. Now, if you see here, those messages did not come, which means that technically our code got executed and it did not come to the exception. It did not come to the because this is the successful scenarios. We were able to create an object. I mean, the system was able to create a row in the account object with just a name, because here I just saw that the name is the mandatory one, so I was able to fix it. And how did I get those message? I was able to get the message only from e.get message, why is it failing? So that's how we handle the exceptions in the Salesforce. Moving forward, we'll be seeing a lot of exception types. So this is the DML exceptions, whenever we are dealing with the DML. Hope this piece of information is clear with the try catch block, how to handle the exceptions. And this is the way that we need to write a piece of code whenever we are dealing with the exceptions. Only then if there are error comes, we know how to deal with that. Okay. And even, if you see a lot of things will happen, one of the real-time scenarios are you will be dealing with sending the email or email notifications to somebody. And if it fails, just because your email server is not responding, what will happen in that case? You still need to log, and then you need to keep it in the log or update the database. At least you tell that okay, the sending email, there will be when the record is processed, we'll be updating the status in the real-time scenarios. Okay, the email or customer got notified, or email sent something kind of flag the Boolean value true or false. So you just mark it as false in that case, and then there will be a description. You can add one more column or one more field as a description, or the reason for the failure. You can update that field saying that email was not sent. Email was not sent. There is an email failure happened. So you can even update the database with the necessary information here, because the email got failed and it came here, and then you can see. But that is not the DML exception. That is there are various other exceptions. The transaction exception. There are so many other exceptions. We'll be dealing with that when we flow through the sessions. Okay. So this is how we call the try and the catch block. Okay. Hope this is clear. And so we'll be moving into the next topic. And you can just do your hands-on in your developer org like try to see like what are the exceptions that you can see and all those. All right. So the next piece of information that I want to share with you is I have been telling you in the last session. Okay, we will the next thing like we still need to go through this merge and delete, right? Yeah, merge, delete, or undelete, delete and undelete. So we have to go through this in the DML. With that, we will complete the DML. So okay, so I would like to combine like a couple of other things before we get to the merge and delete. Like in the last class I told you like you can have your like two different languages, like SOQL, which is like the Salesforce object query language, and then SOSL, which is the Salesforce search query language. Okay, so let's talk about like SOQL for a minute. Okay, so when I'm talking about like the SOQL, we'll talk about like how to write the SOQL queries in Apex, and then how can we write our own SQL query or SOQL query in the developer console and test it and then validate it before we even use that piece of query. Okay, so there are like a couple of things that you can do, like it can be SOQL queries can be written in the developer console, like that is called the query editor tool. Query editor tool. Okay, how do we use it in the query editor tool, and also like how do we use it in the Apex class? We have been dealing with the Apex class, right? How do we use it in the Apex class? And so how the SOQL queries can be embedded within the Apex. So those are called like inline SOQL. We call it as like inline SOQL queries, or like inline SOQL when it is embedded within the Apex class itself. Okay, so that's called like inline SOQL. All right. So when do we use the SOQL? We have been talking about the DML operations. Like we have been talking about the DML. We use the DML to insert, update, or upsert, whatever, merge, or like delete, all those things. So when SOQL, whenever we want to read the record from the Salesforce. Do I have any meeting? Okay. So whenever we want to read the record from the Salesforce, like Salesforce database, that's when we need to write the SOQL. So like read the data. Read the data from Salesforce database. Right? So it does provide like in short we call it as like SOQL, and it is similar to the SQL language. Like we use the SQL, the well-known SQL language to manipulate the data from the Oracle database or from SQL Server or from MySQL. So all those things, then usually we call it as SQL, but here in the short we call it as SOQL. Okay, and it is customized. Even it's customized for the Lightning platform. Okay, so since we have been talking about the Apex language, right? Apex has the direct access to the Salesforce database, and we don't have to make any connectivity at all. And it can also be embedded directly in the Apex, and it's called the inline SOQL. All right. So let's talk about like I told you initially like there is a tool within the developer console where you can go and write your query. So that tool is called the query editor tool. How do we go and access the query editor tool? Like if you go to the developer console, let me close this guy. And then here is the query editor. You can just go here and write a query. When you're talking about this is the query editor tool. We'll be talking about like in future, like how do we when you're talking about Apex in future classes or like future sessions, we'll be talking about like how can we do the unit testing with Apex, or how do we test the Apex and all those things. But I will be talking about all these tabs. Okay, but we already know what is the problems, what are the, if there's a compilation error, it's going to be displayed in the problems. So if you see the another tab, this is the query editor. Right? How do we write the query here? So basically, if you see the structure of the query is how it's going to be it's going to be select, I would say select fields, and it could be field 1, comma, or field 2 from object. We call it a table in the other SQL languages, but here in Salesforce, everything is an object. We call it as an object, right? So, and then there is a situation hey, okay, I need to find only, write a query and find who has the name, or I want to find who has the address, or who has the description as this, or find the company where the number of employees is greater than this value. Those are where conditions. You want to further filter the data using the where conditions. Where fields, you use the condition as an example. I'll say condition as an example. This condition is where name equal to Karthik, where number of employees greater than 100, or address equal to blah blah blah, text message, text value. So that kind of things, the where conditions to further narrow down or filtering or refining the search results. You can use the where condition. So here, this is the skeleton of it. All right. So let's go and see, let's go and write some query here in the query editor tool and see how the data appears. Okay. If you see here, I'll go and write. As I said, select name. This is the field. We know that, from the object manager, you can go and see what are the list of fields available. I don't have to go back again and show you, how do you see it from the object manager. You are familiar with the object managers, and you can, from the object, you can see the list of fields. So select name from account, right? You have the execute symbol here, execute button here. So if you go and execute here, so this is the name. These are the list of name from the account. So when there are a couple of things that I should tell you in terms of interview, or in terms of certifications, or in terms of things that that might be pop up is whenever you execute this, the query within the query editor tool, or within your Apex or inline SOQL, whenever you write this SOQL, every single data that is retrieved will have the ID by default, but it will not, you will not be able to see it here, but it does have its ID in the background. This is exactly equal to, this is something like this, correct ID command name. See it here. So this is the ID and this is the name, right? So this is nothing but equal to this query. By default, you will have it always the ID within the search results whenever you retrieve the data. So when you see here ID, you remember I told you each of these records will have its own prefix. For example, account will have always 001. It always starts with 0011. And the same thing if you say contact. See here, this is the contact. Contact will always start with 0031. So by looking at this ID itself, if you're familiar with the database or data from the Salesforce, by looking at this ID, you can easily say that hey, oh yeah, so this is the object from the contact, and this will be the lead object or case object. Yeah, you can tell by looking at this prefix. All right. So select name, ID, description from account, comma, right? Here is the descriptions. Yeah. So these are the things that you can write a simple query. And we will talk about the related list, like, how can we insert the related list and how we can query the data from the related list. Okay, so we'll come back to that when we're talking about the related list. Okay, but that is in my mind. I will just go through that, when we're talking about the related list, right? So, so with that said, like, okay, so this is the query editor tool, and you know how to write the queries, and you can see all those histories from here and all those things. You can see all those queries that we executed so far, all this. So one of the other things that I want to tell you before I forget is, like, there is no, if you see from the other SQL language, there is something called, if it's an Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server, there is something called select star from. Will give you the data from all the fields from that particular table or like an object in Salesforce. Like, select star from account will give you all the fields, but there is no such thing called star in the Salesforce database. You cannot retrieve all the data using the star. You must specify the field name individually. Like, this is one of the things, like, they always ask in an interview, like, how do you write what is your SQL? Okay, how do you write your SQL? Okay, how do you retrieve that data? You want to retrieve all the fields, like, what will be the query? If you just put, say, like, select star from, it is wrong. You cannot write something like select star from in the Salesforce. There is no such thing called select star. So this is something unlike than other SQL languages. So this is one of the things that I want to tell you. If you write this select star from account, you can even try to execute this, and it is going to tell that, it's not going to unknown error. It's not going to parse this query. It doesn't understand what the star means. It has to have the field name. So even if it is ID, it will work. It's going to give the ID. Okay. So these are the takeaways with related to the query editor tool, writing the queries in the query editor tool. Like, there is no star or all those things. All right. Hope, is it all clear so far in terms of the query language, writing the SQL queries in Salesforce? All right. So the other thing is, like, okay. So now we need to start writing the query. How do we write the query? So how do we include the queries in your Apex class or Apex language? The prerequisite, like, whatever the thing that we need to consider here is, like, you cannot just write this query. When you're writing this, like, select ID from account or whatever in your Apex language, it has to be formatted within the square bracket. Like, it has to be like this. When you write the query in the Apex, like, you have to write it like, this is going to select star from ID. This is going to give you the list, right? List of account objects. For example, list, account, ACCT list equal to, you can just write like this. You don't have to create any object or any database or anything to connect to get this query. Okay. Simply this will work. And you can look through this to get the data. Like, you can do all of this, all sorts of things once you get the data from this variable or the object, right? This is how you do it. The syntax that I wrote is here is, like, that I wrote here in Apex is, like, you have to have this square bracket when you write your SQL query, SQL query in the Salesforce. Right. Hope this is clear. We have covered, like, pretty much what is BML and what is the SQL language. And we have used the query editor tool, on how to write the queries, and what are the things, unlike the other database, what are the things that are unique in the Salesforce. And we talked about the ID, and we talked about, like, star and all those stuff. And the syntax to write the query. So the reason why I taught you here, even before getting into the code, is whenever you write a query, as a developer, it's always recommended, or it's a good practice, to execute the query in your query editor tool before you plug in your query into your Apex class. In that case, your query is working, and then you're going to embed, or, like, the inline query SQL is going to be used within your Apex class. So that's why I thought of telling you that query editor tool first before we writing up in the Apex class. I just don't want to go and write the query in the Apex method or, like, class itself. So this is one other way like which you can validate and you can test it in your query language using the query editor tool. All right. So now let's go and write a piece of code to execute the query. Okay. One other thing that I thought of telling you is like, whenever you execute like, your query as a keyword query within the query editor tool, I told you like it's going to be like select start from account, right? So this is going to be your object. Okay. So we still need to. I'll take another session like about the custom object. I think Pratap asked a question. I remember that question like hey, they say subjects are also considered as part of the custom objects, right? Okay. So how do we query against the custom objects and all those things? Like whenever we do that, it's going to be like it's going to be with __c. Like that's what the API is going to be like. Custom objects, for example, like you have your custom object as like energy audit or whatever, right? Energy audit. If this is your custom object, it's going to be like __c. And I'll talk about, I don't want to confuse you by mixing so many things. What is __c? And if you have a relationship, it will be like __r. So those things I'll talk to you. I'll discuss with you later as we slowly move forward with the advanced things. Right. So let's talk about like how about we are going to embed this within the query. All right, so let's open up your let's go and create a new Apex class. So my mouse is not working. Like let's say like we want to update the update account, something like that. Public static void update my records. So we go to the query tools, select ID, comma, name, comma, description from account, right? Okay, let's see if this executes. Okay, here I have the name and we have the description, right? Okay, so let's bring up here real-time scenarios. Like okay, so your sales team is coming and asking the developer, hey, can you please update the rows or like update the records? As an example, like as a developer, we always talk about rows, tables, or objects. Okay, so they are coming and telling that hey, okay, what guys, I don't want to see that. I don't want to work on my records, the account records. Can you please add a description to the account records which has been created long back ago? Like can you just whatever the old accounts, you just bring like 10 accounts or like 5 accounts, whatever they're saying, like can you mark some condition, like maybe if account has the name like this, or like if the account, or like if the account has like some condition. Let's take this example, like having like okay, whenever like whatever the accounts that have been created in this org from the day one, I just get that and then update the description as like hey, this is the old account. So the sales people know that, oh, okay, I don't have to deal with this account. So this been like we have lost the deal with this account, or like this accounts are not there with us anymore. They're not doing the business with us anymore. Such kind of situation, like one condition, and then you need to update the record. So that is the rule. Like here you can, as an admin, you can go and edit and save with the description, and you can search for it. all those things, but that's not the case. As a developer, you need to do it in the bulk. They're coming and telling. It could be like 100,000 records, or it could be like 200,000 records, out of which you need to find like 1,000 records, and you need to mark them as they still need to be appear, but they need to have a different flag, or like update the description saying that old account. So as a salespeople, as a sales rep, I don't have to go and work on that account. So that is the requirement, for example. All right. So how do we do that? All right. So first, let me go and write okay. So select ID, name, description from the account, and I did not tell you I use the where conditions, right? And you can use the where conditions for example, where for example, if you see here where name equal to, I say like .com, an example, right? I can write this, and it is going to give only one record. So this is the example that I'm showing you, where we can write a condition, okay? And you can, there are several things other than this condition. You can even order by name, ASP, which is like ascending order. Order by name, like ascending order, right? So if you just say, if you just execute here, it is going to it is going to execute the query, okay, we're saying that, okay, so it is going to order the name, it's going to sort, and then by name, and then it is going to have ascending order. If you want to just make it a descending order, you can just do. So these things are it's quite common in the SQL queries. It's if you see here, it's ordering by the name, okay, and then it tells that okay, so this is where Y appears here, and then X to all the way to the A comes all the way to the bottom. So it is like a descending order. So all sort of SQL operations that you do, you can have it here, okay, like select ID, name, descriptions from the account, order by, all those things, okay. So we do have something like order by, I think it's like created date. Let's see, just created date created by, okay, created date, ascending order, or you can even put like created date, just created date itself. The default it's like ascending order. So these are the things it is created. First thing was created by Gene Point, United Oil and Gas, Singapore, Page Communication. So these are all the accounts that I have, and I was able to query this before I even write a query. I was able to query this, and then I was able to find it what are the old accounts. As a developer, I just go and write a piece of code, and then now I need to update it, right? Right, okay. So I write a piece of code. All right, let me close all this. Okay, so I write here okay, so account, it's going to be like list of account, ACCT list equal to, as I said, I have to write it in the bracket, and it is going to give me the list of data. And the other thing that you can see is the other thing that you see is in the query editor tool, we do have something called limit 5. It will give just only the 5 records. See here, previously when I said without limit, it was it's all flowing. You can just go through these and see hey, how do you write the query and what are the things and everything. One of the things, we don't have such thing called in the regular SQL, but here you can limit 5. You're going to write the query. It is going to bring a lot of results, but you're going to limit by 5. like 245. It's going to bring all these things. Okay, so you can even just use this limit fine. Whatever, right? All right. So if you see here, once you get this, and then it's going to be, you can look through this, like, for account ACCP, and you're going to look through this list because you have all your records that was fetched or that was retrieved from this data in your account list, right? And then you're going to see that, okay, system.debug, name equal to, sorry, say this here, first your first object will come here, account dot name. So let's see, like, if you're going to create an anonymous. Okay, so I'm just going to modify this. Okay, let's edit this. So we're going to have like, I can even, this is just a non-static method, so I can even just call this directly. It's fine. Static method can be called directly. These are not non-static. Okay. What did it put? I haven't saved this yet. So you see it here. It retrieved the data, and then it is having, like, it is printing out all the names. So that is how, if you want to just, see, this is a piece of code that I wrote to execute, and then I was able to, right. And then in case if you want to see, if you want to just update your record, you can just write, like, you can put your list or you can create another list to update, and then, you can set it up, like, for example, ACCT dot description. So this Apex language is so cool that you don't have to worry about connecting or finding the data or anything. So as long as I have this account to access the field, like, all you have to do is the object dot the field name. That's all. So I'm just setting it up, like, account dot description equal to old account, something like that. Old account. And then you can simply, like, you can update this account, like, or like, update, you can account this, you can just update, and then, you can just do this account. That's all. Like, every time you're just writing this query and you're limiting this, the reason is, like, you already retrieved based on the condition, like, you're just going to see, like, hey, okay, created date, based on the created date, you're going to execute this, and you're going to top 5 we chose. Otherwise, you can just have whatever the conditions, whatever it's going to bring, you can just put it in the loop, and then you can update. You can even add this descriptions, and then you can save it, and then outside the loop you can even put your list, like, this is your list, right? Update account list, ACCT list. You can just do this. It is going to be bulk update. We have gone through all of this bulk update, using the list and everything in the previous session, so I don't want to waste time here. So I just want to show you the example, or, like, show you a piece of code, how to write the query in the query editor tool, how to test it, how to embed that in your Apex class, and then, how to retrieve the data, and you can process the data. So I don't have to keep, like, working on the same thing, like, updating the list, or, like, changing the values and then inserting it, all these things. You can do whatever you want. So is it all clear? I hope it's all clear. Just type it in the chat window if you have any questions. If it's all good, you can just leave it. All right. I hope these are. I hope you don't have any questions. If you have any questions, let's take a minute and then you can type in the chat. In case if you have any questions. All right. So we have extensively gone through about the exceptions and about writing the query, executing the query and printing the data and all those things. All right. So we have to catch up on the merge. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the let's step back, and we haven't talked about the merge, right? All right. So now we are going to talk about the merge. Merge. So this is one of the DML operations of the merge. So I mean, mostly people doesn't even talk about this merge, and they just keep skipping insert, update, and everything during the training. That's what I hear from the other students. We still need to talk about talk about various concepts that is all available in the Salesforce. All right. But I just want to tell you, I will not be able to go and write code for each and everything. As far as I can do, I'll just write it up. I'm not even copying or pasting it from somewhere or showing in the PowerPoint slide. I'm literally writing the code so that you can understand by having those concepts going in your mind. So that is how I always do it, so that you can get more familiar with how it works. I mean, we have been going through some issues. I'm just typing it wrong, or I'm not even saving it, all those things, right? So that you, as you're familiar with you're getting familiar with data, the development, that helps you to see what are the things that we can go through as we go through the development process. All right. So merge. So when we're talking about the merge, so we have various records in the database, right? What does the merge do? I mean, the word itself tells that merging the records. Absolutely, yes. How many records we can merge? We can merge maximum of, Salesforce does allow maximum of 3 records. That's all you can merge. You cannot do more than that. Okay. And one more important thing, it could be a certification question. There is a catch here. Merge cannot work with custom objects. Merge does not work with all the standard objects. Merge does work with only 3 objects. Excuse me. Let me have some water here. So merge does work with only 3 objects. What are those 3 objects? Accounts, account object, contact, and lead. These are the only 3 objects where the merge operations can be done. Merge DML can be done. This could be also be this is a unique thing, right? This could be an interview question or certification question. So you cannot do with a custom objects. You cannot do with any other standard objects. You can do only with the account objects. Okay. So and also there is a limit of having the merge of 3. All right. So when you have you can specify what is the parent. When you have 2 records, when you have 2 records from the object, you can tell hey, this is the master, and you want to merge other records to the master. What will happen is the other records, right? I mean, I have 2 records as an example. I don't want to confuse with a complex logic. I have 2 records. I'm telling that one as a master and one as the to be merged or the child or whatever. Master or let's say it is master slave or master child or whatever. Okay. So this is the master record that I need. I want to merge other record to this master, and what will happen to the other records? They will get deleted. Other records get deleted automatically. Other records get deleted from the database. And then the records are moved to the master. And one other thing that you need to consider here is what will happen to the related records. When there are related records, right? For example, let's take an example of account. So since we have account lead and contact, each account can have a contact, right? Like this is the master, and again, like there will be like another account. Say for example, you want to make this as a master, right? So this record, whatever you have it, will be merged to this, and the related will also be moved, and this account object, this account record will be deleted. This contact will come to the master record. Okay, let's see. Let's write a piece of code. I'll quickly write a piece of code to show like how the merge works. Okay, all right. Let's go to the developer console. Let's close all this. So the same thing. So we are writing all these Apex classes, right? You can even use like file. We have been using a new to create an Apex class. You can even open the file. When you open the file, this is going to be the sources where you can click, where you can go on. This is our training class, training one, or anything like that. You can go and open it here. Okay. For example, the training one, whatever we wrote, you can just go and write here. All right. So that's one thing. And let's write a piece of code here. All right. So let's quickly say like the list of account. Equal to new list. So this is similar to the bulk, whatever I taught you in the previous session, inserting the bulk. Okay. So here will be just how do we insert the bulk? It's going to be like new account. You can say like name equal to, as an example, let's say new account. Let's name something called, okay, so ABC cart. I would say like okay, ABC cart. So the reason for the merging is whenever we have the duplicated data, right? Whenever we have the duplicated data, we'll be having it. All right. So the other thing is like the another record. I'm just going to create a new record. I'm going to copy paste, Control C, and then I'm going to say just ABC. So people are coming and complaining that hey, why there are like too many accounts with the same name, but everything means the same, right? So we are having it like this. and then there is a requirement for the developer to say, okay, can you merge it? And okay, so this is the account, and for our testing purpose, we are going to insert this list. So which we know that these are the two lists, these are the two records that we are going to deal with. Insert LSACCT. Okay. So we inserted these two records. These two records will be inserted. One account name will be ABC cost. The other one will be just ABC. Okay. All right. And then the next step is like this will be inserted, and we have already gone through this so many times. How do we insert a record? Insert using the DML. How do we insert the bulk with multiple data, multiple records? How do we insert? This is the piece of code we have already gone through this. Okay. Cool. Now let's go and see like okay. Let's retrieve the data and see like how do we get the data, like whether this has been inserted. All right. What are the things that we need to merge? Let's see. Okay. So we said before. Okay. To understand, let's write a comment here. Like sorry. Insert couple of records, and then retrieve or fetch the records that needs to be merged. Okay. All right. Now we need to identify like what is the master record and what is the thing that we need to merge it. All right. As you said. All right. So let's try it like account and have it as like master ACCT. Let's write like master account, right? What is that master record? See, this is where I told you. This is where I'm told you I'm going to write the query, and that's why we saw the previous step, the prerequisite is how to write the query. We know how to write the query now. How we can validate the query, we all know. Okay, cool. Select ID, comma, name, from account where name equal to ABC card. So we have written this query. All right. So we told that say this is going to be the master record, and then I'm going to see that what is the record that needs to be merged. What is the record that needs to be merged? I'd say like to be merged, or I would say even merge this account, something like that, to be merged account, right? And this is just the ABC. I don't want the ABC Corp. So I want this ABC to merge to this ABC Corp. All right. Now, what I want to do is let's say we want the contact records. When you're talking about I was talking about the related records, right? Okay, so let's deal with the related records. What is the related record? We all know, we have been discussing about this. The related record, if one object has been referenced to the other object, that is called the related record. So as you know, that means you can see the related list from the tab, or enhanced list, or the related list you can see from the separate tab and all these things, right? So the related records. So what is the related record? Let's see, we had the contact as the related record. So now this step is creating the contact record, and then having the contact record in this to be merged account. So we know that okay, this guy does not have contact record, and this guy is going to have the contact record. If this happens, it's going to be added to the master record itself. Let's deal with the situation having the contact record to this. This is going to be merged here, and let's see what will happen to the related list. That is the requirement here. All right. So let's create a contact. Simple one record, new contact, and then have we had yesterday we had this situation, right? First name equal to state, comma, last name equal to something like tally kind of thing. Okay. Now, so I did not teach you here during the insert, but I'm telling you now. Okay. How do we insert the data with the related record? Okay. Now you know that how do we insert the record? This will insert two records, one with the account with the ABC Corp and one with the ABC. How do we insert the related record? Now you see, I'm just telling that. Okay. Now after I inserted this, last session I told you how can we get the ID, right? How can we get the ID of it and everything? Now if you see here, you wrote the query, I wrote the query, and this is the object that I will have the ABC. Okay. Now I'm going to tell that okay. So since I have the contact, okay. So now I'm going to see, okay. So this related record, right? This related record is going to be added to be merged account. Okay. So this will have the account ID. For example, every contact will have its account, right? I'm going to have account ID. This contact object's account ID is nothing but this guy. This is the account ID dot ID. Okay. So if you don't have to get confused here, let me tell you one more time. This is the contact object, and it has the field like name or description. It has the field called account, where you can store the account object. That's exactly I'm doing. In the previous exercise or like previous code that I wrote, I was adding the description, right? Dot description. Similarly, contact dot account ID, and this is of data type S object. You can store the S object here, and I am storing the S object called account. Okay, so I'm storing the object to the contact. Now I combined the related list. The related list of the contact is going to be the account. Now there is a relationship between the account object and the contact object. Now what we did was like adding the contact to the account. Okay. All right. Now we're going to insert the contact. Now we have, so when I'm inserting the account, it needs to have the account ID, right? I told you, and the account ID is going to be this guy, not the master. This is the to be merged. All good. Okay. Now we created a couple of account, and we know what is going to be the master, and we know what is going to be the reason why I'm writing everything in a single piece of code is to make you to understand, like conceptually how the merge will work. And then we are going to create a related records. Now with this, you also learned how to create the related records before we even insert the record. Like this is like inserting the record with the related. This is the related. Like this is going to have the account ID of S object account. I gave this ID. That's all. So this is all clear. Then the next one is to merge. The next one is the merge. Okay. All right. Let's try with the merge. The merge will have this try on the catch block, right? The ML exception EX, an exception, and then I'm just going to you can process the exception, but I'm just going to simply write like system.debug to exception plus EX dot get message. Okay, this is the try. The try, what I'm going to do. So this piece of code we already gone through. I separately explained you like what is the try, catch, and everything. Here, how do we go into merge? This is where the concept of merge comes. We know how to insert, and we also learn how to update. We also know how to upsert, and all those things we have gone through. Now we are going to use the merge. This is the merge command. What is going to be the master? We want this to be the master, right? What is the first record? Like whatever we say, that is going to be the master. Master account, and then the account that needs to be merged. I'm going to say like to be merged. So this account is going to be merged to this master account, but this account is the one which has the related data to the contact. Okay. And then and then we are going to see like okay, so I told you that so when we insert right, we'll insert, and then we'll see select ID. Okay, so here what we will do is like we can just say system.debug master ID. So we know that this is the master, right? Master dot ID. And then in the next line, we'll say like to be merged ID. So we know that these are the IDs that are available. the merged ID. This is going to be this one to be merged dot ID. Okay, so we are just printing the ID of both the things. All right. So with this, we are going to merge it, right? And then, okay, so we don't have to write the code to see like, if this exists. We'll just go and write the query and see if this merged to be merged. In order to this merge command, this guy should be deleted, as I told you. This is the master should exist. The other one, whatever we are going to merge, should be deleted. I thought of writing the query to see that if this exists, to return the result as 0, which is of no use. Like, we can write the simple query and then we can verify it. All right, now let's go on verify. Okay, the first step, it's going to create 2 records, and this guy should not be available. Technically, this guy should be available. So because this is the master, ABC should not be available. Okay. All right. But the ABC has this related record that needs to be moved as well. And then we are creating the contact as Karthik merge test, just in case contact. Okay. All right. Let's try to execute this. I'll put some system.debug. Merged successfully. All right. Cool. Let's try to execute this. Hope this is all clear and no question about this before I execute this. And then execute the code and export a token. Line 2, column 5. Okay, let's see. Line 2, column 5. I don't see any issue here. List account. I'm not sure if I less than symbol. This is the list. Okay. Equal to new list. What if it is complaining about this less than symbol? We did do the bulk, right? We already tested the bulk. Any clue why? Maybe second eyes to see. I don't see any issues with the list. Okay, so I'm using the same variable here. List. It's exactly complaining about this guy. It doesn't make any sense. This is of list. Interesting. Yeah, unexpected token looking symbol. Clearly tells that it is like column 5. Mm-hmm. Let me try it in a different way. Let's see if this works. What does this say? Line 1, column 8. Unexpected token. I don't know, something is happening on this one. 2, 4, 6, 7. Exactly this. You both don't have idea, right? Why is it happening?
No, Karthik.
Interesting. This thing should happen. Only then we will learn.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling bad about that, but this is interesting. Even if I just change to the array, it is not happening. Okay, how about this? If I just Control A, Control X. Okay. No code was entered. Okay, which is good. We can Control V. Oh man. Even we have done all this bulk and everything. I think I saved all your code. Training, advanced development. One more I was teaching you, just save just in case after the class. Yeah, this is exactly created, right? Number of employees and everything. List account. We were able to execute this, right? You remember this exercise that we did in the past? The number of employees and I was able to update and all that. Okay. List account.
Yeah, Karthik, after that second ABC, that comma is not required, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Correct. Yeah, this is not required. So we have to just have this only. Okay, we have only 2 records. That's a good catch.
Yes.
Label does not exist master account. Line 18, column 11, 18. Okay. Master not account, master ACCT. Oh my god, okay. It's explaining and then I just wrote whatever I had. Okay, just good. Variable does not exist. Now we have to use this master account. Master ACCT, not the master account. And this is the thing that to be merged. Okay. And all right. All right. Cool. So we are able to execute this. And if you see here, so this is the master ID and this is the to be merged. And then we were able to merge it successfully. Okay. Now, if you go to Salesforce, we should be able to see only the only the master record. And even you can just write your query here. to see select ID, comma name, comma description from the account, where ID equal to this guy. Okay, so I need to copy these two IDs here. Hold on. I need to copy this one in the notepad. And I need to have this one. So these are the two IDs that are created. Right? Okay. Now if you go here and if I just execute this query, what does it say? This is ABC Corp, right? Okay. Now if I go to my notepad and select the second one and try to query against the ABC, the one that is the ABC, that's the one we merged, right? See, it does not bring any results at all. So the reason why I copy pasted is in the system debug, we were able to get this both, which means that this is the ID of the master and to be merged. This is the ID. This is ABC Corp and this is the ABC. So now I am trying to execute the query for this ABC, the ID of this ABC. It is not bringing anything, which means it got merged and then it got deleted. Does it make sense? And the other thing is, like, if you go to the Salesforce, and then go to our sales, and then go to your accounts, right? You can see there is only one record, which is ABC Corp. There is nothing called ABC. That's the one we merged. Like if you see the ABC Corp, you can see the ABC Corp, right? If you go to the same thing called contacts, so this is the Karthik merge test, right? See, previously it will have this ABC. Since ABC is not there, even the related list got merged. It moved to the ABC Corp. But if you look at the code that we wrote, we are having the ABC here. Even the related list got updated. This is the related list, and it got updated. Whenever we are merging, that will get updated or overridden, and then it will get deleted. So we're able to follow me with the concept of the merge. It's good that we just wrote a piece of code to execute everything. Even we have one of the typo there. You were able to get through this, and we were able to execute this, and we were able to practically see how the merge works. It got merged, and even the related list got moved, and it got deleted. The secondary one. Where is the code? Where is it? Yeah. So this guy got deleted to be merged. ABC Corp. There is no such thing called ABC at all. The system here got inserted, and it's not there. We have only this one. This is the master, and we use the merge master and the to be merged account. So that's why I wrote it here. It got merged to here. This moved to here, and this has the related list. You see here, this has the related list when we inserted the contact. But the related list, when this got deleted, it has the related list, right? And the related list got updated to the master. Whatever the properties of this it has, it will get moved to here. Okay, that's what the delete is. And then we were able to test it with the query, and this was successful. The merge was successful. Okay, any question on this? So I was able to cover the delete and undelete and all those things, but unfortunately, I think we did enough exercises today so that you can understand it, which is good. And one other thing that I want to tell you quickly is if you guys can give me your email address, or if you're interested, then I can share these notes to you. So,
Yes,
you can, yeah, you can connect the dots. I always do that with the students so that they'll just connect the dots, like whatever the things they'll recall, they'll be able to recall it. They can do the sample exercises. All right. So one of the things, if you can just
address.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat and then I'll send you these notes. I owe you guys how to put the plugin. Did any of you try to have the plugin from the Eclipse to your bring in your org to your Eclipse?
No.
Not yet. Okay, that's fine. We will do it. We'll do it as one exercise. We will do it. And okay, so I'll just have it here. Give me 1 second, okay?
This conference will now be recorded.
This is like a database class, like even this, sorry, insert or upsert or update and delete. So you can do all of these operations, whatever I taught you from the DML operations. There is a class called database class. One other thing is like, you could see in the method, like, for example, insert, right? You can even just, we have one method, just inserting the object. It will insert all the objects. There is also another method of telling like, like this, objects all or nothing. What do you mean with all or nothing? Like database class, right? So like all or nothing. For example, we have been talking about like, the system errors, try catch exceptions and all that, right? If you set like, all or nothing equal to, it can have, it's a Boolean variable. It's a Boolean variable. You can have all or nothing either as true or false. Okay. So if you say database dot insert, if you say database dot insert, and then your list object, the list object that will get inserted, and if you say all or nothing to true, either it will insert or update or any DML operations of the entire list, or if there is an error, it will not do, or it will not do anything. It will not update or insert any of the records. That is what it is called as all or nothing is true. Either you insert everything or nothing. When there is an error, you just don't insert anything. I have like a list has like five rows or like 10,000 rows in the real-time scenarios, in the real-time companies when we do with the Salesforce uploader or like anything. I have like but there is a scenario like there might be a question asking you like hey, when will you use your DML operation like insert or update on the database class? What is the difference? And why do the Salesforce provide two things? Where they can stick it only one option, right? They can even know how to insert, and why don't they have these two things? The advantage of having this database.insert is if you want to do partial DML operations, you could do with this database class. You can simply say all or nothing is false. By default, it's true, and all or nothing is false. If it tells all or nothing is false, say for example, out of 1,000 records, you are able to insert like 800 records, and then the 200 records failed. But the 200 records, when you see, it could be the second record. For example, I have like first record, second record, third record, fourth record, fifth record, seventh record, sixth record, seventh record, ninth record, like whatever it is up to, blah, 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 and goes up to 1,000 rows, right? For example, it inserts the first row, it inserts the second row, third row has a problem. So when you do your insert, your exception will occur here, and then the code will stop working. When you're having this try catch. So I was teaching you the try catch. So we are discussing the try catch, right? So it will come to, if it has an exception, it will come to the catch block, and then your program will be suspended. Then you have to go and see, you have to fix it, and then you have to rerun it. Okay, that is what it is, the DML operations of the insert or update or anything. But with this future of having the database class dot the static method, when you're calling the insert, it doesn't go to the exception at all. It can even skip the exception. It just does its job in two ways. You can say all or nothing is true. It will keep moving forward and will say all or nothing. Either it will insert everything, and if it is, it will insert nothing. And if you have it false, it will not insert the third row. It will go to the fourth row. So fourth row will get inserted, and fifth will get inserted. Sorry. Fifth will get inserted. And then when it comes to sixth, if it is problematic, it will not get not inserted. And it will give you the entire logs telling that what are those which has a problematic, which are the things that did not get executed, which are not, that does not get inserted, so that you can only fix it later and then you can rerun it again, or you can work on those. But the advantage of this is you don't have to. The advantage of this, it can execute partially. You can do your partial operation. Partially out of 1,000 records, you can insert like 800 records, which is successful. It's not that the consecutively 800 has to success. As I explained to you, third will be problematic. Fourth will go and get it inserted. Fifth will be inserted. Sixth will be problematic. Seventh will get success. Eighth will get success. Ninth will be problematic. Something like that. So you can collect the data later. Like, what are the things which does not get inserted and what are the things that are problematic. So that is what the main purpose of the database class is. That's the difference between the DML and the database class. Like, this is one of the more important difference and then important things to know that people will be asking you when they're interviewing for the development. Like, what is the difference between the DML and the database insert, regular insert and the database insert? So you can say, like, it has the option of partial or like all or nothing, whereas the DML will get into the catch block when it has a problem. So that's the main difference. Does it make sense? So with that, we can wind up the class for today. And the next class, I'll be taking up the class on the Apex triggers. What are the triggers and how it can be executed, and what are the purpose of the trigger and all those things. And also, if you have the time permits, I'll be taking the class, and we'll be discussing about like Apex testing, how we can do the unit testing with the Apex, how we can create the test data, and how we can test the Apex triggers and all those. So probably I will try to cover the triggers, and I also still need to discuss about like SOSL. We discussed about the SOQL, and we discussed about the database classes, and we discussed about the merge, and we discussed about the exceptions. So we have covered a lot of things today. And this we need to, it's another command we need to discuss, is the delete. That's simple. Like, it can take a few minutes. We'll discuss that. And so far, I think you are with me and you are able to follow me. And we did not waste time. We discussed a lot of stuff today. And we are able to capture a lot of things, which is good. And I hope you like this class and you're able to follow me. I'll try to send these notes, whatever we discussed today. Okay.
Yes, Karthik. It was very informative.
Cool. Yeah, because the only thing is the one thing that I'm very much clear is like, I don't want to keep telling the same thing. I want to utilize this time to give you something useful, and we need to discuss something informative. And I want to do it programmatically. I have to handwrite my code to explain you. I don't want to copy paste. If I don't handwrite the code, one of the things is like, we don't fail. I want to fail in sense like, my code has to fail, and you have to learn from that. And I'll have to learn from that. We are all here to learn. Like, it's not that I know everything and you know nothing. It's like, even I might not know anything. It's all about like, we're all humans. So that's how I just deal with it. And I handwrite the code just because we go through the process of learning with all those bugs, all those errors, and all those real-time scenarios and all those things. Okay. Hope you like the class and you're able to follow me. Right? Yes. I'll send you these notes, and please please, so just whenever you get some time, just get into the hands-on into your developer org so that you know it will be useful. Okay. Well, at least
Sure.
so is Prakash sending me these videos? Because I don't have access to
Yes.
this Go meeting at all. Okay.
Yes,
As long as
yes.
if he sends, which is fine. Okay, because I'm not getting that. So I don't know if he's sending to you. I'll follow up with him in case if it is not. Okay, cool. All right.
But we
Thanks.
don't have, we don't have notes. We are not getting the notes which you are making like this one. So,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, so I would
Okay,
request
I will.
you
Yeah.
to send us
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll send you this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right. Cool. I think we discussed a lot today, and we will meet on Monday. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you,
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.
Bye.